you're feeling lonely, maybe you're sitting in this room, surrounded by people, and yet you feel so alone. I need you to know, you have something that you've been purposed for in this life. I don't know what it is, but it's things. First of all, just want to introduce a little bit of myself. I grew up in Bahamas, Illinois. So I never know if I'm being into friendly territory. But at the end of the day, let me tell you guys, when I'm in the mainland, in the U.S., doesn't matter if you're from Buluti, doesn't matter if you're from Leone, doesn't matter if you're from Samoa or from Haitua, you're Samoan and you're from American Samoa, we all know. So, I grew up, I went to Paco Elementary, and I went to Samoa High School freshman and sophomore year. And I remember, what had happened was I got into a little bit of trouble. Freshman and sophomore and then they finally said, hey, Arizona. So they set me out there for my junior and senior year. But I want to give a little bit of a background because I ended up becoming a teacher. I got a bachelor's in elementary ed. And then I got a master's in administration education. And I worked as a principal for 25 years in Arizona and New York. And if there's one thing that I want to tell you guys that I am 100% sure of, number one, your teachers don't get paid very much to take care of you. Your teachers don't make very much in order to give you the best education that they can. But it's out of a love and a commitment to serve young people. And so if you guys would do me a huge favor, how about you give your teachers and principals and I didn't want no gifts. I didn't want this or that. The number one thing is my students, they ask this question, hey, what can we do to make your day amazing? I said, forget my day. You will make my entire year amazing. Is if you come and you be respectful and try to do your very best. Because if you do that, that will be worth more than gold to us as teachers, because when the summer comes, we'll prepare you better. And so the whole summer is spent preparing for you when you guys come. So there's just another level of being an educator that I just want to affirm you teachers and educators for the work that you do. But my parents ended up sending me off to a private school in in Arizona. And that private school, what was interesting about that private school is that every day I grew up, and what's really weird, I traveled all over the world to be able, let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can do this. I travel all over around the world speaking to young people about suicide prevention and mental health. And what's very interesting that I found since I've been in American Samoa, 70% So I used to pray that, and I remember, imagine a boy who was getting into trouble and into school. Finally, my parents sent me to a private school. I get to Arizona, and all the way I would pray every day, God, please, Father, Lord, I've been praying since I was 5 years old for you to give me a beautiful woman. 17 years old, guess what, guys? God made my dream come true. Beautiful woman. And you know, but you know, one thing I always say, I would tell my teachers who are out there, you know, but we're going to ask the teachers, what did you do at 17 years old? We dated for 2 weeks and she broke my heart. And you know what's interesting is, when you're in high school and you're 17 years old, you've been praying for something like this. And somebody, she was beautiful, but she was not that beautiful. But she broke up with me. But here's the thing. At 17 years old, even though it might not seem serious to the adults, right? But we remember adults when we were younger, everything seemed so devastating. Everything seemed so drama. Everything. So for me, at 17 years old, I was devastated. I was subject to the Lord. I said, Lord, why did you bring me that Jezebel? Why did you bring me that girl? And she broke up with my heart. But check it out. I wasn't doing very well in school in freshman, sophomore year. But when I came to this new school, 17 years old, my senior year, I started doing better in school. I started focusing more. I started doing a good job. And so finally, everything was going well. I had my homeboys. I had my usos over there. You know, they were Mexican, they were Hispanic, they were black. They did all cultures, right? There were no Samoans or Tongans or any Polynesians at the school. But I also had a lot of girls, and they were girlfriends. You know, sometimes I would ask the girls before I got my girlfriend, I would say, hey, how you doing? And you know what they would say to me? Ew. So, I love it. Intimate, feelings. But they would do that. So one day when that finally happened, I remember I was having a bad day. I got a phone call from my mom and dad. From my mom, you know, with a graduation in a couple of months, we're not going to be able to come to your graduation. So when that happened, again, 17 years old, watch. So everything is so devastating at that moment. And I want to tell you, I affirm you that it is that big of a deal at the time. And so one day, I woke up, and I'm not a depressing guy, but I woke up sad. Then 2 days, I woke up sad. Then over a week, this dark place. Maybe some of you have been in that dark place. And I remember trying to study for this test. I walked into this test and I could not do a good job of studying. I looked at the test, I wrote my name, and I turned in the paper, and I knew that I was about to fail this test. But when I walked out of that test, my teachers used to always tell me, Mark, hey, if you're struggling, if you need something, ask for help. Come and talk to an adult. Talk to the counselor. Talk to the pastor. Talk to the teacher. Talk to the principal. Talk to your parents. Talk to somebody. We heard that all along. And so in that moment when I was struggling, I came out of there and I thought, man, let me go talk to that one teacher. And this teacher that I'm about to go see is the favorite teacher of everybody in the school. You know, it's like, lunchtime, we go hang out, she plays music, and we just hang out in her classroom for lunch period, and then we go to our next class. But she was the favorite teacher. When I went over to go talk to her, I saw her purse in the corner of the room. And when I saw her purse, I walked over there and opened it up. Why? Because I knew that in there was some medicine. Because this teacher, this favorite teacher of ours, had been diagnosed with cancer just that summer. And so when she'd been diagnosed with cancer, we were praying for her. We were lifting her up in prayer, and we were gathered around, and we would cry with her because we love this teacher. And so sometimes when we would come and hang out in the classroom, she would say to us, hey, Mark, can you grab my medicine? And so when I went to the classroom to talk to her, she wasn't in the room, but I saw her purse. And I walked over and I opened up her purse, and there were the bottles of pills. And I need to say something that's very important to you. Because up until this point in my entire life, because I have a good family. My brothers and sisters, 6 of them, my parents, my aunties, my uncles, girlfriend, all of those things. But I had a good life. But in that moment, I opened up the purse and I took the one bottle of pill and I took all of that pill and I drank the water. Then I grabbed the second, the third, and the fourth. I took 7 bottles of pills in that moment. And in that moment also, I'm wrestling with my conversation with God. I said, God, where are you? I've been praying to you. I've been asking you for help. And my parents, they're not coming to my graduation. And the teachers are upset at me. I'm not turning on in my assignments. The girl, the stupid one, she break up with me. But I'm thinking all of those things, and now I feel this pressure on me. And when I walked out of that classroom, I passed out into the parking lot. Okay, how about you? They're doing CPR on me. They're talking to me. I can hear the voice of my teacher in the back. Wake up. Mark, hold on. Mark, we love you. Mark, it's going to be okay. And in my heart and in my mind, I'm going in and out of consciousness, and I'm praying to myself, and I'm praying to God, like, man, God, because I had taken all that medicine, by the time I got to the ICU, oh God, man, my entire body felt like I had fallen off a roof and landed straight on my body. So I was praying to God, like, God, please, you know what? God, actually, I don't want to die. I said, God, actually, I don't want to die. I actually want to live. And in and out that night, my heart would stop. And they would have to take those paddles, and they would clear. And they had to jump my heart 6 or 7 times that night because I kept coding. But I remember finally the next day I woke up and I saw, man, there was a ray of sunshine shining through my room, and that ray, it was laying right on my leg, and I felt this warmth. And in that moment, I said, man, I don't want to live. I have so much that I can live for. When I went back to the school said, hey, you need to Say gas.
Gas.
G stands for get up and move. Say get up and move.
Get up and move.
You know that feeling that you get when you're laying in bed and it's like you don't want to get out of bed. It will it doesn't like it, but you just feel like you don't want to do anything. That feeling that you get. One of the worst things you can do is they reach for what do you grab? The first thing you do. But that's true. But that's true. One of the things you grab for is the phone. And I understand when you grab the phone, you're just going to get on TikTok, you're going to get on Instagram, and you're just going to begin to scroll. And you know, when I look on my phone, it's right now when you look on your phone. I mean, you know, TikTok, you know, a lot of times people are putting, even on Facebook, their very best highlight reels. Because that's what they do on social media. Hey, I'm in Hawaii. I say because I when you look at I'm not vacation, but that's what people do. They put on their very best highlight reels. They put their very best highlight reels on there. You know, there's this saying that I've heard where it says, I never knew how unhappy I was till I saw how happy they were. Because comparison is the thief of joy. But one of the things that you can combat that is what? Get up and move. Say get up and move. You've got to get up and move.
Get up and move.
Sorry, I'm hitting this thing. The second one is say attitude of gratitude.
Attitude of gratitude.
Say attitude of gratitude.
Attitude of gratitude.
And the topic of attitude of gratitude is so important. You know, because a lot of times, you say we are the worst to ourselves. I'm fat, I'm ugly, I don't look good. You don't need people to tell you that. We tell ourselves that we are the worst to ourselves. But instead, when I talk about having an attitude of gratitude, when I say be grateful, do you ever have that one friend when you're breaking up your sandwich and when you're going to share your sandwich, you would think they're going to say thank you, and instead they look at me and go, oh God, I couldn't get it. Because there's people who are negative, but you have to be positive. I heard you guys had a thing yesterday. Was it basketball? What was it? Football. It's football. It's football. Football is one of those things that, we're playing, it's a big deal. But listen, let's imagine the football team. That team that's coming to play us 10-0, unbeatable, undefeated. And this year is a bad year for us. We're 0-10. But imagine the coach, that's how the coach now, they're going to beat your face down. All right, team on 3, 1, 2, 3. But to share your story. But again, is share your story, my little best friend, our little best friend. Hey, something happened to them too. So now, Sam, my little best friend, they kind of walk about here, we break up, the boys have a walk. Sam, we must not walk. But if you have a plan, auntie, principal, teacher, Mr., Mrs., if we call you, it's because we're both sad and we need to talk to somebody who's going to give us encouragement. You have to have a plan, but you've got to share your story. Say gas. Gas. Say get up and move. Get up and move. What does the A stand for? Attitude of gratitude. S. Share your story. In 2022, over 49,000 people died by suicide in the U.S. That includes American Samoa and Puerto Rico, because there's U.S. territory. But around the world, someone dies by suicide every 45 seconds. Every 45 seconds. I want to back up here. I want to introduce to you my family. This is my oldest son, Jordan. He's if I out. So that means he's on Cupid, Mokiva. Jalen is a senior at the University of California, and he's pursuing a bachelor's degree in elementary education. You don't have to clap. You'll be here all day. And then I have my son right here. He's in the Marines, and he's serving in Hawaii right now. And then this is my favorite daughter. You know why she's my favorite daughter? How many of you are the favorite child in your family? We love all our kids the same. The reason why my daughter's my favorite child, because when she was 7 years old, I was recording her on the phone, and I made her say, I said, honey, yes, Daddy, you promise to live with Daddy for the rest of your life, so that when he has to wear diapers, and you will take care of him? Yes, Daddy. So I recorded that when she was 7 years old. When she became 17, when she turned 17, I remember her coming back and saying, Dad, hey, about that promise that you made me record. I said, what? What? He's like, no, I'm gonna live with you forever. But is it okay if my husband lives with us as well? I'm gonna keep it. We'll see that. We'll see if he loves the Lord. So this is my son, Jalen. Jalen was a good basketball player. He was one of the best basketball players. You can see on the day he was come up, but more importantly than how he looked, man, he was such a kind and gentle soul. Man, he loved people. And there he is with his siblings, his other brother, and that's his mom. It was on a Monday. And I had a family text. For context, we live in Kansas City. My son and my two sons live in California. It's like 6 hours plane ride. So we were living there, and I got this text on the phone. And in the text, it came, first forgive me. I love you. Immediately, I called my son's phone, but while I was straight out of the voicemail, I called my son and I said, where are you? He says, Dad, I'm running over there right now. 30 minutes away. I'm driving over there right now. I said, hurry. I run in and I grab my wife and she greets me and she's crying. She said, please, no. And in that moment, I looked up again at God and I said, God, if you can grant me one wish, I'll never ask for another wish. Please, save my son wherever he is. My son, Dad, I'm over here. It looks like they're bringing somebody out of the ambulance on an ambulance. I said, oh my goodness, so we began praying and praying and praying. He says, it looks like it's Jalen, but they won't let me hear him. They're going to the hospital. We'll call you back. And as my wife and I sat at that phone and we waited and looked at that phone and we're crying and just waiting for the news. We're praying to God, save my family. And then my son called me and he says to me, he says, Dad, Mom, Jalen, he's gone. And in that moment, as an elementary teacher. So I find out that he loved kids. He was going to be one of the best elementary teachers. But I remember that struggle that he had. And I remember the struggle that my family had after we lost Jalen. And I remember when we got back home, 2-3 months later passed by, and we're trying to get counseling for my family, my wife and my kids, and everybody sad. We didn't leave the house for over, a month or two because we just were so broken and man, let me tell you kids, that's a lie. Man, we love you so much, kids. We would do anything for you. I'm telling you this. Well, we will do anything for you, young people. You have to ask for help. Don't believe what happens is maybe now when you're feeling vulnerable, when you feel like, man, nobody loves me, I promise you, your family loves you. Your family will never be the same without you. We would be forever broken if you left us. I need you to hear me loud and clear. Today is World Mental Health Day. This month is also Suicide Prevention Month. We love you so much. Eventually, my family went back to doing what we were doing. I didn't go back to work. My wife is starting to go back to work. My daughter, she's going back to school. My son, everybody's going back to normal. I'm just so sad that I had a hard time getting up. And then it was 2 days. And then after 2 weeks of struggling to get up, because I kept saying to myself, He lived in Tamaleaa. He served in World War II, Vietnam, and Korea. If he was alive today, he'd be 105 years old. That's my dad. So I'm imagining how he was raised, right? And when I was growing up, so walking in up dad. He never said, I love you, but you know, when I became a mom, when I became a dad, and I became in charge of my bills, and I became in charge of these things and that, you know, well, I started to understand my dad. And I had a roof over my head. I have clothes on my back. I have food on the table. It's how mom and dad show me they love me. And then look, if I'm telling you straight, you know, they're easier on us. And now I'm easier on my kids. Because our parents want you to do better than them. That's 100% true. And so in that moment when I was struggling, I woke up, I texted some friends, 3 friends, and I said these words to them. Help me. I've never done it as a man, as a husband, as a father. But my friends, they showed up, they came into my house, they took me, they showered me, they cleaned me up, and they took care of me. And one of them was a doctor. He said, hey, I need you to go back to the hospital. I need you to go in the hospital. You need counseling, you need therapy. And I thought, I don't want to go. But let me tell my parent, my wife. So I told my wife and my son, my daughter, and I'm looking at them, and I said these words to my family. I said, hey, I'm so embarrassed to tell you this, but I have to go to the hospital, in the mental health, behavioral health hospital, so I can get help. And I'm embarrassed to say that. And my son, Jared looked at me and he said, Dad, okay, hey, Dad, why are you embarrassed? If Jalen would have asked for help, maybe this wouldn't happen to our family. He says, Dad, go into the hospital and do the work. He says, Dad, when you do the work, and when you come out of the hospital, we're going to be waiting for you, Dad. I want you to do the work. So I went to the hospital and I was doing the work, but they were gathered around. As I went in group, my dad do the work. So I went and I did the work and I sat down for my seat. My name is so-and-so. I'm a doctor at this hospital and I suffer with severe depression. My name is so-and-so. I'm a single mom with 4 kids and I'm by myself. My name is so-and-so. I'm a janitor at the school. My name is so-and-so. I'm a nurse. You know, one of the things I realized at that moment, everybody struggles with depression and mental health. So I did the work, and when I finally came out of there, I said to myself, I said to my family, I did not work for 1 whole year. Last year, 2024, 5 more minutes, kids. Promise. Promise to build up, real promise. 5 more minutes. Last year, 2024, January, I have a master's in administration education. I have a master's in curriculum development. I have an elementary degree. And you know, I'm not smart, right? Look at it. Man, well, everyone grades. Maybe all the time in school, but they don't really we know how to work. Oh, I'm telling you, hard worker, man, those guys are hard workers. So I worked hard. So last year, I went back to school and I'm pursuing a master's in clinical mental health. And then I put on Facebook and Instagram. I said, Haiti, Belize, Texas, University, Washington, New York, Florida, in Hawaii. I would go every month out there, and I live in Kansas City. I would fly out there and speak to the Hawaiian indigenous and the FS schools about suicide prevention. Hawaii, Guam, Japan, Walla Walla University, California, New Orleans, Nebraska, Texas. This was just last year. Ottawa, Sacramento, Missouri. In this Fort Idaho Center, I want you to imagine this. Now, I know we get from there were 9,000 young people in that place. And I was the speaker, and I got to tell them the things that I told you. We love you guys so much. That you have to ask for help. And you're professional counselors that we can talk to.